Last week, we got a teaser drop for Total War Warhammer 3, which was rather unexpected even for us in the partner program. However, it gave me the perfect opportunity to tease the community with the knowledge that I have indeed played a Warhammer 3 battle, and pressed you all to ask your questions for a dedicated Warhammer 3 Answers video. So today, I'll spend some time answering your questions to the best of my ability. Just be aware that a good majority of the questions reference nothing with what I played, so don't feel slighted if I don't answer yours. Also, a large group of the ones I can answer can be lumped into some more general groupings as they were similar in nature. A couple of things before we begin though. First, if you enjoy the content on YouTube, I highly recommend that you go and nab the follow button over on my Twitch, where you'll get a live look at my mostly stable strategic mindset that is the basis for all of my videos here. Second, if you have yet to pre-purchase Warhammer 3 and decide that now is the time, take a look at my Nexus GG personal gaming store where said purchase supports this channel directly. With that out of the way, let's take a look at your questions answered on Total War Warhammer 3. I can cheekily answer several questions with this first section, so I'm wrapping it up in the battle. The last week of April, the Total War partners were invited to play the Warhammer 3 battle in question for about 4 hours straight. This battle, dubbed the Assault on the Brass Citadel, is an extremely new form of narrative battle type called a survival battle that you will experience during your Warhammer 3 campaign. At points during your campaign, you will quite literally be on the verge of overtaking an actual realm of chaos. This was not explained in detail, and no, we did not get to see any portion of the campaign map. The only setup we received is that Katarina is leading her army to conquer the Khorne realm of chaos before the Brass Citadel, actually inside the realm itself, and we could only play as Kislev. This survival battle is the last step, the boss battle essentially, before conquering it in full. It involves taking 3 capture points in a 3-tiered map setup, where upon taking the first capture point unlocks the next section to conquer, but also spawns waves of chaos demons trying to take it back. As you capture these points and kill your enemies, you'll generate supplies, and these supplies can be used for a multitude of different pieces during battle. You can construct several types of towers or walls in specific places on the map for various amounts of supplies. The towers doing different types of damage to enemies, from base damage, armor piercing, and magic. The walls providing things like a platform to shoot from, blocking enemies, slowing them down, or even buffing the friendly units within an area of effect. You can also instantly summon reinforcements to bolster your numbers, and with each capture point you unlock, it unlocks greater and more powerful units at the cost of more supplies. And I can tell you now, these reinforcements were absolutely crucial in this battle. The last thing you can spend your supplies on is army improvements. These can range from replenishing your troops in a short period of time, adding ammo to your ranged troops, and upgrading any unit's attack, armor, projectile, and shield defense stats. For instance, the Winged Lancers are pretty dang decent right at the start, but I slapped on some melee attack and some armor upgrades, and they became incredibly powerful and were a staple across my time playing the battle. On taking the last objective, you'll eventually face the final big bad bossy boy, Khorne's champion, an exalted greater demon, a bloodthirster. He's designed to be able to really tank some damage, so it's a fun time trying to take him out, while some lesser demons are also swarming over your own worn out and depleted forces. This is of course a wildly huge summary of the battle, so it's in a way a siege battle, but one where you could juggle both offensive and defensive tactics, and you get to build stuff too. It's very different, but also very enjoyable. This survival battle will also be available in co-op mode, which is something I'm very eager to test out should they let us at a later date. As for defending your own lands as a Chaos faction, I'm not 100% sure how this battle would play out, as it was not discussed with us during the event. I'll hopefully have a dedicated video on my thoughts and opinions on the battle in general, so be on the lookout for that in the future. When it comes to questions on the units in this survival battle, there's a handful I'll answer right off the bat. First, neither the Kislev or the Khorne rosters were shown in full during this battle for pretty obvious reasons. You don't give away the farm with a teaser like this one. Second, when it comes down to unit stats like ward saves, magic, abilities, other things like that, You won't find that in this video, and I wholeheartedly recommend another channel like Italian Spartacus to grab that info. The reason being, we played this battle through another computer via Parsec, and for some reason, my internet was frustratingly crappy the night of the event. Spent a good chunk of my time waiting in a lag-tastic hell that was in low resolution, so my time playing was more focused on actually just playing. Wasn't concerned about individual unit details, just wanted to play the battle to nail down the ropes. Third, when it comes to unit sizing and difficulty, I believe this size was set to large, with some weird different caveats from what we've seen in Warhammer 2. It's a bit of a strange situation, and the difficulty was really tuned down. This is due to other media that might not be so familiar with Total War to give them a fighting chance, so keep this all in mind. That all being said, we do have a decent roster on both ends of the factions. Among the Khorne Demons, we have Chaos Warhounds, Bloodletters and their Exalted variant, very demonic looking indeed, Chaos Warriors and their variants like Chaos Warriors with halberds, Chaos Warriors with dual weapons. We have Blood Crushers, we have Skull Crushers, both fantastic looking cav units. We have some Chaos Chosen, and of course the champion Bloodthirster, who, yes, can 100% fly. On the Kislev side, I ended up not needing every type of unit, so I can't vouch for them all. Again, I really only focused on gameplay, but we still have a lot. We have the Winged Lancers, which was very exciting to see right at the very start. We have Kossars, which are mixed spear and bow units. We have Tsar Guard Infantry. We have Streltsy, my favorite unit in this game, who have great axes that double as guns. Super fun units. Ice Guard with their mixed bow and glaive variant. The Griffin Legion, a brutal looking shock cav unit. Warbear Riders, which are obviously mounted bear cavalry, which are pretty stinking cool. Horse Archers, Little Grom, which is a siege artillery unit, and lastly, the Elemental Bear, which is something I know a lot of you asked about. This bear is super cool, literally. He's an unbreakable beast with a ton of hit points and all sorts of buffs. Obviously the most expensive unit in this battle, but it was pretty sweet watching this thing take on some units. And this is, as mentioned, not all of either roster. Honestly, I'm glad they didn't give us more. The way things were set up and the battle in general, having too many unit options while learning an entirely new map and balancing all of those things would have been a bit much to handle properly. What we saw in the event units wise was a great range of different types of units, i.e. different cav, infantry, ranged, etc. The Lore of Ice questions are a tricky one simply because this is a very specific battle that doesn't follow the normal rules. So what I can say in this video ties only to the survival battle, but it is my hope that it follows outside for all battle types. What I saw in this battle was that the Lore of Ice was unlimited and her pool was absolutely massive. It seems constantly fed, on pace with previous Winds of Magic, but it never ran out. I purposefully let it fill up to see how big it got, and I hit over 100, and it allowed me to use a whole host of magic skills in quick succession, which was necessary at times with the waves of chaos swarming over you. The Lore of Ice heavily focuses on slowing and damaging enemy units with a couple of spells for buffing your own. Katarina had 6 spells at her disposal, with Death Frost and Hearts of Winter being my absolute favorite spells to use. Heart of Winter is a 4-phase damage over time area of effect spell that causes increasing damage and movement speed reduction for every phase. It's absolutely stunning to watch unfold. And if you can bottleneck enemy troops into the classic Total War blob, it's not unreasonable to have seen Katarina get several hundred kills with a single use of the spell. I saw a few questions regarding how everything felt while playing. I'm probably not the best person to answer this due to my streaming issues, but from the footage I received of me playing and the times that the game was caught up and I was playing in real time, I found the look and feel of it to be pretty dang good. The UI is just about the same as Warhammer 2, obviously with some thematic redesigns, but it looked and responded great, which is not a surprise to me at all. From what close-ups I could nab during my time playing, all of the units look fantastic. The demons are sharp and nailed the chaos feel. Kislev looks very awesome as well, with their Cossack appeal very strongly showing in every unit. The vibe I got while playing and from looking at the footage is that Creative Assembly seems to be going for a much more serious overtone with this title. The demons don't look goofy, they look like they mean some serious business. The same with Kislev. They've seen some crap, and after all, they are literally in a realm of chaos, so it makes sense to be a little more serious. Performance and balance are two areas I cannot give true opinions on for a handful of reasons. One, the survival battles are meant to have lower health troops for the enemy, so you can take on those waves and not die every single time. This means that the stats you see in these videos won't represent the stats on the campaign map. Plus, any upgrades you purchase for your own troops are limited to the battle as well and will not transfer back to the campaign map. So anything I say here, balance-wise, is irrelevant outside of these survival battles. 2, we were playing on a much easier difficulty, as mentioned, due to non-Total War focused press media. What was supposed to be a 45-minute long battle, several of us were able to accomplish in less than 30. Yes, it was easy once you figured things out, but again, it's not a true representation of the battle type for us Total War veterans. 3, since we played on PC rigs that were not our own through a streaming service Parsec, we obviously were not given PC specs for performance. We also do not know what graphic settings were used, nor the bit rate in which this was recorded. All of these factors mean that performance-wise, while my footage is definitely pretty decent, I cannot in good faith tell you that the game runs buttery smooth. Now that all being said, I can guesstimate, based on my footage, that my FPS was over 30, but definitely not at 60 throughout the entire battle. Never did I experience really hard frame drops or changes in quality, and clearly the quality of the unit models is optimistic, considering we are still an unknown way out from release. There were so many questions that I could not answer, not from a non-disclosure standpoint, but from a we didn't play that aspect of the game. I should have been a bit more specific in what I could tell you in that last video, but that was a very, very hastily thrown together one, and it caused some misconceptions, and for that I apologize. That being said, I really appreciate all of those that I can't answer at this time, because it gives me a list of things that I can either ask in another event or give me ideas on how to properly cover the next event in terms of coverage. You all ask fantastic questions too, and nearly every single one is something that's been burning inside of me as well. Trust me, this won't be my final community questions video I make on Warhammer 3. I'm extremely excited about the potential of this game, and I hope that the questions I did answer were satisfactory enough to get you a bit more hyped on the game. That will wrap up this video on your questions answered with Total War Warhammer 3 and the survival battle Assault on the Brass Citadel. Hope you liked it, and again, I hope you got a bit more hyped for the game. If you enjoyed what you saw, give the video a thumbs up, sub to the channel, and drop a comment on your thoughts down below. All of these interactions help YouTube see the video and push it out to the masses. If you haven't already, check out my Twitch to grab a follow and see some live strategy gameplay for myself, and once again, my Nexus GG link for purchasing is available for those who would like to support the channel directly. Thank you so much for your questions. Be on the lookout for more Total War Warhammer 3 videos in the future. This is Havoc, and I will see you in the next one.